Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with our second F123 hot lap and track guide. Yes, this weekend we head out to the Jeddah Corniche and the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix circuit, a firm fan favourite inside the Formula 1 games and one of the most technical challenges inside F123. People have loved the Saudi Arabia circuit to hot lap on since its introduction back on F1 2021, but now with some quite major but subtle changes to the circuit, it is a much bigger challenge than it ever has been before. Of course, if you missed out on the first video we did from this series in Sakhir, Bahrain a few days ago, I would highly recommend going back and checking that video out. I'm having a lot of fun doing this series so far here on the second channel, so of course if you're new and you do want more hot lap and setup guys, make sure you get yourselves subscribed as well. Trying to hit 10,000 subscribers on this channel at the moment. But yeah, the Jeddah Corniche circuit, the second longest on the Formula 1 calendar. Of course, yeah, very high speed though. A weird challenge that is easy to learn but incredibly difficult to master. Getting one lap hooked up around here is incredibly difficult to do. So hopefully you enjoy this hot lap. Top 3,000 in the world, about top 4% worldwide as well. But of course, before we jump in with the lap, we've got to jump in with my setup. So, before we head out then onto the lap, of course we need to have a look at the setup we're running here in Saudi Arabia. And honestly, I was quite surprised by just how much wing you need on the car there. 27-24 for me seemed to be a good balance. Of course, it seems like all of the cars inside F123 very competitive in terms of straight line speed. I feel like wing has a less of an effect than it did inside F122. So, of course, you still need to try and get that rotation, especially through the S's at the start of the lap. So 27-24 was where I found the wings needed to be. Transmission running slightly less diff both on and off throttle around here. Again, Spec trying to rotate the car around the corners as best as possible. Of course, one or two traction zones around this circuit, or quite big traction zones around this venue. Obviously, unlike Bahrain, where a lot of the circuit is very difficult traction zones, so you're worrying about wheel spin a little bit less. 55-51 was where I found a good balance here. Suspension geometry, though, much more camber and much less toe than Bahrain. -2.7, -1.2 on the camber, 0.03 and 0.14 as well there. So yeah, very different to what we were running out in Sakhir yesterday. I feel like, again, though, this could be something that changes a lot more on the game as well. But yeah, I was quite surprised by just how much less camber I suppose we were running, even though it's inverted because it's a minus number. It's very weird. Suspension, though, 25-11 on the front and rear suspension. Obviously, again, you want to be running a lot softer rear suspension, of course, firm front suspension. Again, trying to get that rotation through the first few corners. Got to be so careful, though, over the curbs as well. So it's a little bit risky in that regard, but really you just want to be trying to avoid those curbs around this venue anyway. Again, much firmer anti-roll bar at the front than the rear, 13 going against 6. And then, of course, the ride height. You always want to run slightly more rear ride height on the game as well. It allows you to be slightly later on the brakes there. 37-39 around here. Again, you want to be avoiding those curbs, so you've kind of just got to roll with that. Brake pressure, again, I'm running 98-56. That seems to probably be about my constant around most of the tracks on F123. I might be able to up it to 100 at some point, but honestly, at the moment, I'm feeling quite happy with this, and I don't want to overstep the mark. And then 22.2 on the front tyre pressures, 21.5 on the rears there. A lot more rear tyre pressure than in Bahrain, again, because you've got a lot less traction zones to deal with. So, yeah, some patterns you might already see emerging from our first two hot lap guides, but certainly a lot of very different things as well. It feels like setups are becoming more adaptive with every F1 game, more track specific, which is always a good thing. But anyway, let's head out then and show you what you want to be aiming for around the Jeddah Corniche. So heading out of the final corner then, to get yourself the fastest lap time, I'm actually staying right over to the right-hand side there. Gives you a slightly shorter run down towards turn 1. Of course, you're going to be in 8th gear, well over 200 miles an hour. I'm looking at just that little yellow door on the right-hand side there, just braking ever so slightly after it. Of course, all the way down from 8th gear. They're turning the car in just after the 50-meter board, and I'm trying to keep it in 3rd gear through turn 1 there. This is one of the only curbs you can actually attack on the lap. 3rd gear again through the second part. You'll notice a bit of understeer on the exit. It'll really push you out towards this wall. but you can get completely off the corner in third gear there. The other big thing that you'll notice around Jeddah is, of course, the curbs are actually inside the white line at a lot of different places, so you can actually run all 4 wheels on the curb as such, because you've only got 2 wheels outside of the white line there. So third gear, off of turn 1, of course, you're going to cycle back up the gears before you head into the S's. I'm trying to leave it in 6th on the way in, braking just before you see that wall come in towards you there. 4th gear on entry in towards here. Again, you're just kind of tipping it in and praying, and then avoiding that outside curb on the exit. It's just not reliable enough to try and get a consistent line there. Short shifting up into 5th, and then rounding through into 6th gear as you make your way through the S's. I'm actually trying to just cover the brake pedal through here, just to make sure the balance is alright, but you can leave it in 6th gear right the way through these corners. Of course, you can use this curbing on the outside wheels, but if you run over it, the lap's gone immediately. Leaving it in 6th gear as we tip through here. Slight blend of the throttle on the way through, and again, you know, you can try and get those inside wheels on the curb and not over it, and the same applies for the exit. You'll notice I slightly bottomed out on my lap there. Costs us a tiny bit of speed as we head down this next straight then. All the way back up the gears. Once again, though, of course, a pretty short run it feels like, and then you're braking just at the 50-meter board. Through here, I'm finding you actually need to hold a tighter line than you have done on previous F1 games. So 4th gear, get the car as close to the wall on the inside as you can, and then as you get halfway through the corner, I'm actually aiming to get back to the outside wall after that Saudi Arabia little sign as well. They're much, much later than we have done on previous F1 games. Again, you're staying pretty much as close to the wall as you possibly dare through there. Nick the wall just like I did on my lap. It won't invalidate, obviously, as long as you don't hit the wall. Again, you're going to be up in 7th gear here, but dropping back down into 5th on entry, and then really it's just about trying to get that car over on the exit. I was able to get away with using the curb in qualifying. Well worth the risk. In race trim, probably not so much there, as you now head out onto the back straight then, of course. Not really a straight around here, but again, you're trying to give yourself the shortest run, so those wheels over the curbing, open up the DRS, and obviously all the way back up into 8th gear once again. This next corner, again, it's so many corners around here, just kind of flick it and pray. So here I'm aiming to be on the brakes just after the marker, down into 6th gear, tip the car in, get as close to the wall on the entry, again trying to avoid taking too much of that curb on the exit, and just trying to navigate through and get back on the throttle as early as possible. Back into 7th, and then up into 8th, of course, as you head out onto the final DRS zone of the lap. Of course, you can try and allow the car to run wide. I don't really think it's worth going all the way out to the right-hand wall there before you head down towards the final corner, but what I am doing is trying to keep close to the left-hand side and then really straightening up before you hit the 100-meter board there. Braking again just after the 100-meter board. 3rd gear on entry to the final corner. Try and late apex it as best as possible, and then avoid the wall, of course, on the exit as well. Not many braking zones around this Jeddah circuit, but the ones you've got are really, really difficult there. Open up the DRS, and of course this time around, shortest run to the line. You won't get penalised like so Logan Sargent did in the real-life Saudi Arabian Grand Prix back in March there. But there we go. That's a lap then of the Jeddah Corniche. Like I said, not many braking zones around this lap, and it really is just such a confidence-based circuit. But let's see what happens then when you get it all hooked up. There we go then, that is a lap of the Jeddah Corniche here inside F123. Like I said, a very, very technical challenge, but one of the most rewarding circuits in Formula 1 when you get it all hooked up. Of course, a very, very big test as well, if you've never used no racing line, but again, it's one of those things where once you've got it hooked up, it's going to be so much easier, and it's actually, I think, tracks like Jeddah that you really get the best driving experience from not using racing line, because this circuit is so adaptive and so different to most of the venues we get inside Formula 1. But yeah, hopefully this hot lap and track guide has helped you out as well, of course. You know, like I mentioned in the intro, we're really trying to hit 10,000 subscribers on this channel at the moment, so a massive thank you to all of you for watching. You know, if you've got any other tips or tricks or anything you want me to try and do a video on as well, of course, like I said, I'm focusing on the track guides, but if there's any other nuances to the F123 game, please do let me know down in the comments below as well. But yeah, that's going to do us though for today's hot lap video. Thank you all so much as always for watching, and yeah, we will be back very, very soon then as we head to the land down under. We'll be ready for Albert Park. That again is another very, very weird challenge inside F123.